Okay. Got a couple people in the waiting room. There's Vanessa. I'm gonna let her in.
We should name her something.
Chat box wizard.
Oh my God.
I put on mascara. And changed my shirt.
Fancy. I'm wearing a dress.
Hello, lady.
I was on backwards.
Your dress is on backwards. This is one of the, I don't like wear graphic shirts, but this one's so cute. It says keep growing, keep going. It's probably back. Cool. So we have a couple people in the waiting room. I'm not going to let anyone in until like a couple minutes till. I don't want to awkwardly chit chat with people. I like that you can message the waiting room. I feel ready. I'm excited.
I'm back.
Is your dress on right now?
Yeah.
At least you didn't leave the house in it. It's like when you sit in the car and you can see the inner trims and you're like, yeah, this is inside out.
We're going to try this again. All right, we're live with Rachel Perino. Rachel, you got it?
Yep, sounds great.
Sweet.
Every once in a while, my Wi-Fi just like stops and then I freeze. And it always happens at the worst possible time. So if that does happen, I'll be back in like a minute. Just stall for me. Hopefully it doesn't happen at any point that I need to be talking.
Oh my God. Like the bios that I don't have of anybody. Like the bios that I don't have of anyone.
Oh, I have them here. But I don't think it will happen. Oh, I sent it to the waiting room.
Bios?
Yeah.
That's cute.
No, ignore that document, please. I'm gonna let Bill in. Oh no, I sent it.
It's okay, it's their bios, right? So it's info they're getting anyways.
Yeah, it's.
At least we're not like that that school board that got recorded talking bad about the parents.
Oh no.
Did you hear about that?
No, but
the whole board resigned.
Oh my gosh.
It was a school board meeting somewhere in California. Turns out they were being recorded and open to the public, and they made commentaries like, oh, they just want babysitters. The parents just want us to be babysitters. Like they made comments that you're like, ooh, all the parents heard it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been on like national news, and basically the entire board resigned. They asked them to resign, basically, after what happened with that.
That's embarrassing.
That's bad. That's all. Like, so if you ever worry, just think that as a comparison.
Hey, Bill. You're on mute.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
Bill.
I'm just pulling this window over. That's going to be easier than stopping my share.
Cool.
Figured it out.
We have quite a few folks in the waiting room, but I'm going to let them in around 2 minutes till.
Cool.
We have 105 people registered.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
and a good.
Did you have to take a higher level of Zoom?
We did, just in case.
Yeah.
You know, if all 105 people show up, we want to make sure they can all attend. And
Sure. Good.
Yeah, so we can have up to 500 people.
Wow.
Maybe I should, yeah, there's about 11 people. I might just let people in. Do y'all feel good about that?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I like, is it all, Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. You are automatically muted upon entry, just so you know. We'll get started in about 5 minutes or so. But thanks for coming. If you'd like, I think it's appropriate to unmute yourself and say hi if you'd like, or say hello in the chat while we have this couple minutes before we officially start.
What slide should we park it on right now?
I think the main one, the one right before that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good parking slide.
It's a parking spot.
I'd love to hear, I just keep chatting to the waiting room instead of, I would love to hear what everyone's either growing right now or harvesting right now, what's bountiful in your world right now.
Everything is blossoming on every fruit tree everywhere is blossoming for me.
Oh, that makes me happy.
Pink lemon for the first time, pomegranate for the first time. I put compost in the pomegranate and then it just blossomed, so I kind of feel like it was the compost, but I'm biased.
What's bountiful in your garden, Bill?
Right now, nothing. I live in Connecticut, and so there's still, it's warm-ish, but we still got snow on Saturday, so just waiting for, I don't know, April maybe.
You'll have some asparagus and some sugar.
Well, I have
snaps.
I did plant some garlic for the very first time. Actually, this was, I'm the vice president of the board of the Wind Hill Community Farm. We're a community farm in Glastonbury, Connecticut. We do both community gardens and a CSA and education programs.
Awesome. Happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, it's called Wind Hill Farm because it's always windy. It's about, the town of Glastonbury, Connecticut is 48 feet above sea level, and we're at 600 feet above sea level.
Wow. I used to live in Hartford.
Not much, but you know, it's always windy.
Just want to say welcome to folks that we've been letting in. You're muted automatically upon entry. We're going to get officially started here probably about 2 or 3 after. If you'd like to unmute yourself and say hello, you're welcome to do that. You can also say hello in the chat. Would love to hear in the chat what folks are harvesting right now, what's bountiful in your garden. We got folks just coming in. I'm the official admitter. Jen, do you mind admitting folks when I do the?
I'm happy to do that.
Cool, thank you.
Jen, I like the haircut.
Oh, thank you.
It's probably been a while. I just hadn't seen it.
It was a mohawk in June. We're gonna see what happens. It was really hot in June.
And Robin, welcome, welcome. Congrats on your board nomination. Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Hi, Jenny.
Hey, Karen, how are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Very well, thank you.
Hi, Jenny.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
I'm
Good.
fine. Very
Nope.
fine.
How are
Yeah.
all those seedlings you're birthing doing?
Yeah. Well, finally, after dealing with a bad load of soil, I've got a lot of produce coming now, but most of the cool season annuals are starting to be a little bit stressed with the heat, but I think the next few nights are going to be cold, so colder anyway, but that's good.
Oh, excellent.
Welcome to anybody who just joined us. We're gonna get officially started at 3
Hi.
after.
At least
You're muted upon entry. Feel free to unmute yourself and say hello, or say hello in the chat. Folks are sharing what they're harvesting in their gardens right now. And I'll do an official welcome here in a minute or two.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Jen?
How are you feeling? Other than
Oh.
loving your chickens and your garden and everything that's going on.
You know, I'm getting by. How are you doing?
Good. That seems to be the standard answer these days. We're getting by.
We're surviving. Oh, we should say
Will, how are you?
thriving.
Hi, Lisa. I have those polls for you still.
Oh, great, Vanessa. Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Let's see.
All right, so it is, I'm gonna mute everybody. So it is about 3 after, and we have a great schedule of things to bring you tonight. So we're gonna get started. Hey everybody, I'm Heather Henderson. I'm the current Sustainable Urban Agriculture Coalition Vice President. I think most of you know who we are, but I know that we reached a broader audience, I think with Rob Greenfield joining us tonight. So everyone knows we are an urban agriculture nonprofit in St. Petersburg, Florida. So just logistics, you are all muted. I bulk muted everybody. There might be times where we open it up for questions, and feel free to unmute yourself during that time. And also feel free to ask questions or say hello in the chat. We're gonna have somebody monitoring the chat to make sure that any questions that folks have get answered. Welcome to SUAC members and also to SUAC friends. If you are not a member or haven't renewed your membership, you can do so today on our Square site. We are going to be having a vote for our board nominations in a little bit here, and members are going to be eligible to vote. Otherwise, I think we're about good to get started. We will be having a speed networking mixer after the event. And Jen's going to put a link up for that here. Thank you, Vanessa. It's 5-minute speed networking, and if you want to meet fellow urban ag and garden enthusiasts, it'd be a great fit for you. So just to let everyone know how our night's going to go, I'm going to turn it over to Jen here in a minute to talk about Women's History Month and celebrating our community's resilience and some of our rock star members and some of the great work they've done. We have the amazing Rob Greenfield as a keynote, and then Wendy Wesley is gonna give us an urban ag policy update. We've had a lot of great things happen in St. Pete recently. Then we're going to meet our board nominees and have a vote, and then talk about the future of SUAC. And like I said, there's that virtual mixer on meetaway.com if you're interested. And you can sign up with that link. The link is also in the chat. I will turn it over to Jen to talk about Women's History Month and also some celebrations of some SUAC members.
Hey, thanks, Heather. Jen Andriani here, SUAC president, celebrating Women's History Month. I thought I would switch that up here. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Project Drawdown in a solution that actually showcases women in sustainable urban and regenerative agriculture. One of the solutions for Project Drawdown, and just to let you know, Project Drawdown has done research to determine which solutions done at scale will actually mitigate and reverse global warming and provide a stable climate for us. And one of them is providing sustainable intensification for smallholders. And what you may not know is women make up 43% of the agricultural labor force and produce 60 to 80% of food crops in poorer parts of the world. Often they're unpaid or they're low paid laborers. So the solution, if all women smallholders received equal access to productive resources, their yields would rise by 20 to 30%. And the result of that would be 100 to 150 million people would no longer be hungry. So when agricultural plots produce well, there's less pressure to deforest for additional agriculture. That would help avoid emissions. So if you want to check out Project Drawdown's website, it's www.projectdrawdown.org. And they just have a publication up here that I thought you might be interested in, Farming Our Way Out of the Climate Crisis. So it lays out a plan and details how we can actually heal the planet by practicing regenerative agricultural practices. And I think that's definitely something that we would like to know more about. All right, so I would love to take a moment to recognize resilience in our community. We all know that 2020 was a bit of a roller coaster. It provided a lot of pressures to our community and the world. We wanted to hear from 3 of our sustainable urban agricultural community heroes. And the first that I'd like to feature is Rachel Perino and Carrie Katz. And then with Little Tree Homestead and Nursery. And I actually recorded an interview with Rachel earlier, and I'm going to load that up. Right, we're live with Rachel Perino. Rachel's going to tell us about Little Tree Homestead and Nursery.
Hey Jen, hi everyone. Sorry I can't be at the actual meeting tonight. We'll miss you guys. So this is us, Little Tree Homestead and Nursery. This is my partner Carrie in the background here, and our daughter Willow, and the 4th member of the homestead is the little belly bump right there, who's now born and 2 years old. That's Rowan. So we've been in the urban ag community for a couple of years now. We moved to St. Pete about like 6 or 7 years ago. Started volunteering at the Faith House Garden, which then became the Eco Village and now is the 15th Street Farm. And you know, Bill Billadu was there, and Emmanuel Rue, of course, and many, many other members of the community. And we really like started learning how important it was to grow food. I think way back in the day, Bill made me read the book Drawdown, and we really kind of had our minds blown, so to speak, about like what the food industry really is like. So yeah, from there we just started learning more and more about how to grow food, the importance of it, the community aspects of it. We got really inspired by other people's property, Bill's property, the Blue House Project, Albert's property, the St. Pete Micro Farm is super awesome. So we kind of decided that we wanted to sell our house. We had, you know, a larger sized house and a smaller sized yard, and we moved. So we moved into the Little Tree Homestead in September of 2019. I was working outside of the home full time, and Carrie was primarily starting our homestead, you know, doing all of the labor work, so to speak, and building soil and all those important things. And things were really going great. We were like starting to plant trees and getting all excited. And then of course in March, about 6 months later, COVID hit. So I, at the time, you know, had high risk position. And at first we were fine with it. Like I moved out of the house, I was living in a camper in the driveway for a minute. And then a friend of mine let us move into her apartment. And everything was good. We were just kind of seeing what was happening with COVID, if it was going to be like a big deal or what was, if it was going to last a long time. It was all brand new. We really didn't know what was going on. But then of course I found out I was pregnant. So, it was kind of a big deal because I was the primary source of income for our home, and really didn't feel very safe at my employment. So we decided that I was going to quit. So I did. And, it was pretty scary because we basically had zero income. But interestingly enough, just a few weeks before all of that happened, Elise Pickett from the Urban Harvest was over at our house. I think we were doing a plant swap. And she saw that we had several vegetable seedlings started because, we were starting a garden, and we always plant too much because that's what crazy plant people do. And she's like, you really should sell some of these seedlings. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I have a job. We'll just figure out what to do with them. And then, of course, I didn't have a job all of a sudden. And I was like, hey, Lise, like, what do you think about that advice you were giving me? And like, so that's kind of like how our little nursery started. And it's really been well received by the community. Like, it's kind of insane. I had no idea really how hard it was for people to get organic vegetable seedlings, like you can't get them from the big box stores, or Whitwam, of course, in Tampa was selling them. It's kind of far away for a lot of people in St. Pete, and Bill Billadou, of course, sells them, and everybody should buy plants from him because Earth Song is a great nursery. But other than that, there really wasn't much at the time. And people really, of course, because of COVID, the gardening scene sort of blew up in St. Pete as well as like everywhere. So like people really started buying our seedlings, and it did really well. So it really improved our situation at the time. It really helped us a lot. And now that we're a little bit more, financially stable, I kind of feel like we might be transitioning this to more of a nonprofit type situation, just sort of scratching the surface of that right now. But we may, like a dream, so to speak, would be to just provide plants for community gardens in the area, because it's so important.
How can people find you?
We have a Facebook and an Instagram page, Little Tree Homestead and Nursery. Pretty easy to just search for that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So just one story of many. And we put in the chat a link to the various social media handles. And there's also a bit.ly link. You can actually see their plant list. And I believe they do deliveries as well. All right. So next we have Yasmin and Scott of Urban Oakstead. And I would love to bring them in for a brief chat about them winning the WaterWise 2020 award for the Tampa Bay Community WaterWise Awards. And I'd love to hear about their vision and how they made it happen. And if you want to come off mute and have your video on, there we go. Hi, y'all.
Hi,
how's it
hi
going?
everyone. It's good to see your faces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for having us. We see a lot of familiar old and new friends. Thanks for having us on. So our little place is the Urban Oakstead. We're in Central Oak Park in central-ish St. Pete. We disguise our name by saying we're in West Kenwood. We don't want our amazing neighborhood getting too much attention. But we love the area. And we bought the house about a year and a half ago. We have lived in and worked with intentional communities, permaculture, properties and projects for, I don't know, 5 to 8 years now, community gardens and all the such. And this is our first property that we've owned ourselves. And so we were really excited to really implement all of the lessons and techniques and everything that we've learned over the years from our amazing elders and community members and friends and teachers. And so part of the WaterWise Award is just one of the, I guess, recognitions of what we're doing here. A major component has been rainwater catchment systems. About, I don't know, 5 years ago, we met Anthony Puglino, and he was kind of the brainchild behind the Rain Cube, taught us about how to design and build these 275-gallon rain catchment systems. His original concept was to digitally track the amount of water that's stored and used, and to incorporate that actually into a form of cryptocurrency related to water usage. Very futuristic thinking and thinking about water as a commodity and how we can implement water saving and rainwater use into into our everyday lives, as really focusing on its importance of maintaining, capturing as much as we can, using it effectively and efficiently. Part of our design, our landscape design, is centered around water efficiency. So we brought in tons and tons of mulch. We originally just had a grass lawn everywhere, and part of water maintenance or building a healthy water retentive soil and landscape is by bringing in all that mulch and organic material. And we built some little walls out on our sidewalk. We kind of have like about a foot of elevation from the front of our house. And so we don't lose all of our soil and water from runoff. We built a little wall made out of just old oak stumps, so that retains a lot of our soil. We have mostly native plants, pollinators, some annual veggie production, and some fruit trees. But we don't want to overfeed. We don't want to install an irrigation system. We don't want to use city water. We want to try to water from rainwater as much as possible. And so we've installed 5 of those 275-gallon systems. We had our gutters installed, and this is coming up on our probably a first summer or full summer with those installed. So we'll see how this all works out. And I can teach you more about it, about how to build those rain cubes. I have friends that will do the installations and answer lots of questions. But because of all those things that we implemented, we were recognized by the county, as Mina just found that program somewhere and registered us up. So they came out and took a look, and were impressed with what we were doing. So it's great to be recognized.
That's incredible. I love the actual design of the award. Is that in your yard somewhere?
Yeah,
Where do you have your award?
Before we installed some or built some veggie beds.
Mm-hmm.
That is Carrie and Rachel, our neighbors and sweet friends, and they also participated with us in getting the rain cubes together, painting them first with a black coat, then a white coat, and a clear coat. So that was a fun weekend, a hot weekend at our house that we made that happen together.
Yeah, I think we painted 9 of those all in a couple of weeks, but Yeah, the award is beautiful. That tile, I was really impressed, and it was fun having people from the city, the county, IFAS extension all out, and the water department, utility department, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, they said, we offer a rebate. I said, yeah, we haven't taken the class, but I'll teach the class on it. So, but yeah, out there, so everybody knows there is a St. Pete rebate program for anybody that has rain barrels or large catchment systems like this, but you do need to register and take a class to get that rebate. I believe it's $50 or $100 a year or something like that. So good programs out there.
And then you're gonna talk about yours.
Yeah, so Sierra Club. So I'm the chair of the conservation committee of Suncoast Sierra Club, and we have our quarterly public outreach and education event coming up March 27th. So I'm still in the organizing phase, putting it out there for all urban food producers in Pinellas County. If you're a homestead, a community garden, urban farm or nursery, reach out to me. I'll put you on the list. We'll put it out to all of our members and the public, and people will just be able to come by and kind of take tours and really connect and showcase the food production that we have in Pinellas County, and really help to develop those bonds between buyers and sellers and growers and everybody that needs food, which I think is pretty much all of us.
Yeah. And hopefully inspire other people that are looking to start growing and developing their yards and just don't really know where to start. I think it's a good opportunity to connect with those as well in our community, answer questions, and
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and showcasing your work. And it just shows what happens when the community gets together and we have fun and we grow stuff and we help the planet. Congrats. Thanks all.
Yeah, thanks a lot,
thank you
y'all.
for reaching out.
Right. Absolutely. All right, up next we have Rissa Ray. Rissa is the winner of the 2021 Sunshine Film Festival in the documentary category for her film, Coming Home, Natural Living in a Modern World. And I'd love to bring Rissa on if she's here. I think I saw her, and I'll also I'll point out she's got some of her contact information in the bottom left-hand corner, and we'll also drop all that in the chat.
Hey there, can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Welcome.
Thanks.
Should we start
Hey,
out?
Lauren.
Should we start out with the clip, or do you want to?
Yeah, start out with the clip.
Right. You might recognize somebody in this video, by the way.
This is a demonstration site for a number of different elements that can actually, according to Project Drawdown, help to reverse global warming. When I bring people here, I tell them about how the different elements help to either bring greenhouse gases back down out of the atmosphere or prevent them from coming up in the first place. I like to learn hands-on, and I think a lot of people like to do that too. So it looks like a lot has happened here, but it's been just baby steps.
Just a little taste. Rissa, tell us about your 2020. Did things go as planned? What made you decide to present this project, and what are your plans for the future with your project?
So 2020, I don't think 2020 went according to plan for anyone, but yeah, certainly not me. I wanted to go to Thailand and film some sustainable communities that I got to experience there a few times, but yeah, no travel. And so we're all in lockdown, and I was participating in some Zoom calls with a permaculture teacher named Ramesh Kent. I'd met him, I think in 2015. My boyfriend at the time did a permaculture design program with him. And I was trying to figure out how to help because, I'm not a permaculture gardener. I'm not involved in regenerative agriculture directly, but I'm kind of like a fangirl. And I see all of you doing the work. You're doing the great work, but you're so busy doing the great work that you can't also tell the story of you doing the great work. That's an entirely different skill set. You're only one person. It takes a lot of time. And so this is where I decided to try and help. And I drop off my compost at Jen's house and we got to talking. And then I was like, well, shoot, maybe I can just start here. And so I called on some friends who are filmmakers, and all of their projects had been canceled. And so they were actually like eager to film something. And so grateful that they showed up and that I got to interview Jen, and another friend helped to edit the project. And then I met another friend who runs the Sunshine City Film Festival, and he said you should submit. So I did. So it's just kind of been kismet all the way.
Sounds like it. Did not expect to attend a film festival this year. That was wild. What's your plans going forward? Are you going to do more with this series?
Yeah, so we filmed a second of this. I had an idea for a 3-part series inspired by Jeff Lawton. He did a few Q&As during lockdown, and he recommended 3 books, and one was about permaculture, the other was about food fermentation, and the third was about medicinal herbs. So we just filmed the second portion with St. Pete Ferments a couple weeks ago, and the third will follow whenever I get more filmmakers on board. So that's really the challenge or the roadblock that I have. I'm definitely relying upon favors at this point.
So what could the community do to support your vision? Any way they could work with you or support your efforts so you could continue?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, I'm not, and none of you have met me before. Some friends, but not through SUAC. I rely upon your expertise and your recommendation, and would be absolutely thrilled and honored to continue to produce content. The main goal is to make permaculture look sexy. So I think that I think it's sexy, but like I said, everyone's so busy doing the damn thing that like marketing it is a challenge. And so if I can get some feedback, if funding is a main hurdle at this point, like I said, relying upon favors of friends who happen to be filmmakers. So yeah, just continue this feedback loop. So I'm grateful for Jen for inviting me here to say hi and share, and then invite more communication.
Awesome. So you could check out Rissa on her Instagram handles at Ask Local Experts, Moving Meditations, and Rissa Ray. You can also watch the full-length film. It's 8 minutes, so short and sweet, cominghomefilm.org. And then she's got moving-meditations.com, and you can email her at rissa.ray@gmail. Thanks, Rissa.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, everybody.
Right, I'm going to turn it over to Heather.
Great, thank you, Jen. Thank you, Rissa and Scott and Yasmina and Rachel. We are so lucky to have Rob Greenfield tonight, and I'll turn it over to him in just a minute. He is an activist and humanitarian dedicated to leading the way to a more sustainable, just, and equal world. He embarks on extreme projects to bring attention to important global issues and inspire positive change. His work has been covered worldwide, including National Geographic, and also been called the Robin Hood of modern times by France 2 TV. Most recently, he was in Orlando, spending a year eating only food that he grew and foraged, which is amazing and insane. Sorry, that's feat. But we're really lucky to have him in St. Pete for the winter, him and his team, and he's going to tell you all about the good work he's doing here, and some more about himself. So I will turn it over to you, Rob.
All right. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all. Oh, my hair's crazy. Better put that down. Well, very nice to connect with you all. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I have met a few of you. Yasmina, we've met. Scott, I'm not sure if where did we meet? at permaculture gathering? Okay, at the permaculture convergence, and I see Laura's on here. Laura was one of the people that really convinced me to move to St. Pete for the winter, and her and Albert were some of the first people that came and welcomed me to the community. And I've got to see Bill a few times, and so it's really nice to be on here with all of you, and I look forward to meeting more of you in the months to come. I'm going to give you well, I just want to say, like, it's just super great to be a part of this community so far. I've just been here for 2 months, but I feel so welcomed and so, you know, at home, I guess you could say, for a guy who doesn't really have a home. I feel very welcomed at home here. So it is very, very, very great to be here with you all. And I'm glad that Heather and Jen reached out to get to be here. So I'm gonna introduce you to a little bit of my work, and then I'm gonna leave about half the time. I have a half hour, and I'm gonna leave about half the time for questions and suggestions as well of getting involved with the community. So I've got a bit of a slideshow here to show you a few pictures. Is the first slide visible?
No, but I just made you a co-host and you should
Oh,
be
okay.
able to share your screen now.
Cool.
Do you have that access? Oh.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, great. So basically, I am on a mission to you know, inspire positive change and educate positive change, and try to do my part to contribute to the world in a positive, meaningful way. To introduce you to some of my projects, one of the big projects that I've worked on is called the Food Waste Fiasco. So what you see in this picture is 2 days worth of dumpster diving at grocery stores. This picture here is in Madison, Wisconsin. This was the first food waste fiasco I've ever done. And the idea is I take this perfectly good food out of grocery store dumpsters to create visuals that help people understand the problem with our food system, particularly in this scenario, how much food is being wasted from our broken, globalized, industrialized food system. And the idea is that the problem is huge, but it's hard for people to really wrap their head around it and understand it. I can tell you that we waste $165 billion worth of food per year, which is more than the budgets for America's national parks, public libraries, veterans health care, the federal prisons, the FBI, and the FDA combined. But for a lot of people, we live in a visual time. A simple picture of 2 days of dumpster diving tells the picture in a much more understandable way. So I've done food waste demonstrations like this in about 15 cities across the country. And usually the only thing that limits the size of the food waste demonstration is the size of the vehicle that I have to transport the food that I find. Another one of my projects was called Share My Way Home. In this project, I left San Diego, California with just a passport and the clothes on my back and landed in Panama and had to travel home 7 countries, 4,000 miles, basically dependent upon the kindness of others as well as resourcefulness and problem solving skills. I did this because mainstream media portrays the world as this very dangerous and violent place where you should fear not only people in other communities, but ultimately fear your next door neighbors. And I wanted to show another narrative, and that is that most people out there are actually pretty good. Yes, there's certainly problems in the world, but media disproportionately focuses on them and makes people think that everything's bad when there's an incredible amount of good out there. So after 37 days of traveling through Central America and finally making it back to San Diego, the only words I could mutter and exclaim out of my mouth were just simply, people are good. That was all I could think or say for a little while. Another one of my projects was called Trash Me, and this was inspired by Morgan Spurlock's Super Size Me, where he ate McDonald's for 30 days. Well, I wanted to see, this was a super successful concept, eating just McDonald's for 30 days. how could I, explore an environmental topic and get people to think deeply about our waste? So what I did is I ate, I shopped, I consumed like the average American, but the catch was I had to wear every piece of trash that I created. So the average person creates 4.5 pounds of trash per day. So after a month, I was wearing about 87 pounds of trash. And every day I would just add every bit. And people would come up to me and they'd say, at first they'd come up to me and say, what are you doing? And I would say, oh, I'm just living like the average American and wearing my garbage. And they would look at me and they would see I was simply a reflection of them and they would get it. So what I try to do is create visuals that help people to really get these issues. So I've been on a path to living simply and sustainably for a decade now. I started in 2011, and downsizing from the consumerist mindset has been a work in progress, still a work in progress, but I've done, a large portion of the work in basically ascending this materialistic desire that we have driven, so far into our society. So this picture here, last year, when I left Orlando after living there for 2 years, I simplified my life into owning just 44 possessions. So nothing stored anywhere whatsoever. Every single thing that I owned was in that backpack, down to 44 possessions. And now that I'm in St. Pete, I'm here for the winter and I'm doing some initiatives. I have more than 44 possessions, but it's all about just questioning the narrative that more stuff makes us happier and healthier. I believe that to a certain extent, having things gives us, the comfort and the tools to accomplish what we need. But when you go too far beyond that and you go into this frivolous state, then it actually can be a trap that takes away our health and happiness and takes away from the true purpose of life and our ability to live deeply meaningful, connected lives. I've lived in 2 tiny houses. The first one, the one you see on the top, was my tiny house in San Diego. It was 50 square feet, so very small, just 5 feet wide by 10 feet long. And then in Orlando, where I lived for 2 years, 2018 and 2019, I built a 100 square foot tiny house. As you can see, it looks a lot like a shed. I designed it to look like a shed so it would just kind of fit into the neighborhood. This was my house while I was living in Orlando. And the reason that I was living there was that I was doing a project where for 1 year, I grew and foraged 100% of my food. This was kind of one of the holy grails for me. We have this, global industrial food system that's basically taken over nearly every corner of this planet to some degree. It has wrapped its tentacles around people, whether they're wealthy urbanites or people living in countries, that are less financially wealthy, whether it's in Africa or India or Asia. The global industrial food system has come in to most every corner of the earth. And so I wanted to see, is it possible to actually step outside of this food system and actually produce all of your own food? And I thought about the idea of just doing the 100-mile diet, or just sourcing 100% from local farms. But I wanted to actually deeply immerse and see, is it possible to do every ingredient, the salt, the oils, the greens, the herbs, the spices, the protein, the carbs? I wanted to learn about all of it. And as you know, there are so many awesome, permaculturists and gardeners and food growers in Florida that if I said that I could eat from other people's food forests, I wouldn't have had to have learned nearly as much or really satiated my quest to see if it was possible on my own and just learn each plant. So I landed in Orlando, Florida, December 17th, 2017. Originally, I gave myself 6 months of preparation. I had almost no food growing experience and very little foraging experience, and never had grown a single plant in the state of Florida. And I launched into it. I gave myself 6 months to prepare. I had no land of my own, and I had probably a few $100s in my pocket. And so I met the community. I built all of my gardens in other people's front yards. I did work exchanges. 6 months ended up turning into 10 months, and I launched into my year November 11th, 2018. And well, I'm here today. I did 1 year where I didn't eat anything from a grocery store or a restaurant, nothing processed or packaged, and didn't even have, people couldn't even bring me gifts of food. I had to, figure it all out as far as growing or foraging each food. With that being said, I didn't have to figure out a whole lot because all I did was tap into the knowledge source. We're so blessed to be in a place with so much knowledge. The fact that I was able to grow and forage 100% of my food for a year with so little skills or, going into it was simply because all I did was I listened to what worked for other people. I asked them, what's the easiest things to grow? The things that have very few pests, the things you can never eat all of it because you have too much. Like, what doesn't die? What just makes it through the blazing hot summers? What can be easily grown in the winters? And I just focused on whatever the local people told me worked the easiest. And that's what I did. And it was challenging, no question about it. But it was a beautiful thing to see that you can go from 0% to 100% in just 10 months. And so my hopes is, all of these projects I take on are fairly extreme. Stop share. But the purpose of this is not for necessarily anyone to do these extreme things. The purpose is it's about shifting our thinking. It's about getting us to step outside of societal norms and see that it's possible. Every person probably on this call is already doing something and knows that so much more is possible. But by me taking it to this extreme, I'm able to help all of you who some of your friends might consider you extreme. By me taking it to this extreme, it kind of makes you feel a lot more normal to them so they can work with you a lot easier. So that's one thing, but also just showing people what's possible. Most people, if they have not seen something before, they can't really fathom that it's actually possible. So what I try to do is I try to shift the balance in people's minds of what's possible. And I take things to this extreme because the reality is that the way that we currently live is extreme. The United States has 5% of the world's population, but consumes 25% of the world's resources. That by definition is extreme. What feels normal to the average American is in fact very abnormal, very, very extreme. And so the reason I've realized in some ways I look very non-American to some people, but I've realized that I am a product of the United States of America because I have to take things to this extreme because we have gone so far down the path of basically living in a way that destroys this very planet and humanity and other species. So that's the purpose. And so my hopes is that, through seeing some of these extreme examples, it inspires you and gets you to, if some of you on here have never taken a step towards sustainable living or regenerative agriculture, my hopes is that it inspires you to take that first step. Or if you show my work to friends and family that have never done anything, it's pretty easy to listen to a guy covered in trash for 4 minutes who slips in some, knowledge bombs in there. So my hopes is to help people take their first step. But for most of you who have already taken 100 steps, my hopes is to inspire you to take one more step in the path towards a more regenerative life and rippling that out in the world. Another thing I want to share is just that I have not always done these sorts of adventures. I was actually a very consumeristic person. My goal was to be a millionaire by the time I turned 30, very focused on material possessions and financial wealth. And 10 years ago in 2011, I just started to watch a lot of documentaries, read a lot of books, and just realized that my life was destroying the very earth that we live on. It was totally unjust, totally destructive, and just not cool for people, for other species, and for the earth. And I decided, I was 25-ish, and I said, hey, if I'm going to live to be, say, 80, I got another 55 years. I'm not going to be a hypocrite for the next 55 years. I'm going to turn my life around now. And so I set out on a path to radically transform my life. But I did it one step at a time. I made a goal of just making one positive change per week, every week for 2 years, which would add up to 100 positive changes. And I just made a goal of checking off one little thing at a time. And it was everything from you know, the food I was eating, to the car that I was driving, to the gas that I was pumping into the car, to the trash that I was creating, to the junk that I was buying, to where I was buying that junk, to the way I treated people, to what I put on my body, you name it, you know, all the ways that I interact with the world. And little by little, I found myself more empowered, more inspired, and that made it easier and easier to keep making more changes, and things that I never thought would be possible, like getting rid of my car and not owning a car, when I used to see a car as both your image, your freedom, and your transportation. To get rid of it and see and just step outside of that societal norm. At first, I didn't think it was possible, but by taking it one smaller step at a time, it led into bigger ones. And then that's what got me into the activism of just wanting to show people another way is possible. So I'm here in St. Pete. I live in Old Southeast. I've been here for 2 months now, and the plan was just to be here for the winter, but it is definitely looking like I will be here longer than the winter. I have a house that I'm doing a work exchange for. The guy's name is Johnny Green. He's a member of SUAC, so many of you may have met him. He lives next door. He owns 2 properties. So we're doing a work trade here, and I'm hosting a team of 10 interns, or well, it changes from time to time, but 8 or so interns. And we are working on Gardens for the People, which is where we build gardens for people that generally don't have the funds or the capabilities to have their own garden. A small 4x8 raised bed and some fruit trees is basically what we do. I've partnered with Kelly Francis of Legaseed Collective. And so we're building about 10 gardens. So one way you can get involved is if you know someone who's really deserving of a garden that wouldn't otherwise be able to have one, you could contact us and let us know about them if they would be, you know, if it would be really, we want to build gardens for people where it'd be their dream. It would be super meaningful to have a garden. So that's our Gardens for the People program. Then with community fruit trees, we plant fruit trees in publicly accessible places, whether it's front yards next to the sidewalk, or churchyards next to the sidewalk, or public parks. If a city, you know, comes to me, I don't go chasing after cities that are going to take a year to get back to me. But if it's, you know, if there's something that comes to me and they want fruit trees in the public park, I'm into that. But basically, we plant them where they're accessible for all to enjoy and rethink the food system. So if you have locations that you think would be amazing, you can contact us about that. We plant easy fruit trees that take the least work and that like have the least pests, like loquat and mulberry, bananas and papaya, Suriname cherry, for examples, star fruit. Mango, some avocado. So just some of the easier trees. So if you have locations that would be amazing for community fruit trees, you can contact us about that. We have a free seed project. So we've sent out, well, this year we're sending out 10,000 free seed packs to people all across the country so that they can grow their own food. And that's to people who generally don't have the funds to buy seeds. Our pack has about 20 varieties of seeds in it. We buy our seeds in bulk. So we're able to supply what maybe would cost someone $40 to buy, and our cost is only $1.35 to be able to provide people with seeds. That's including packing them, shipping, the envelopes, and everything. So $1.35 provides someone a pack of seeds. And then we have our community compost program. It's beautiful to see there's so much composting going on in St. Pete. And so we started a small community compost in Old Southeast where we pick up compost. People we give them a bucket and we pick it up each Friday. And then lastly, we have our seed library program, and we are giving out seed libraries to people that would like to have them in a spot, generally a public spot where people can come, like little free seed libraries. So if you'd like to build a seed library, we provide the seeds, and we are going to have a seed library building day and put seed libraries around in places that people want them. We volunteer 2 days a week at the St. Pete Youth Farm, so we're helping out with that and just doing our part to help get that established. It's beautiful. The last couple of months, there's been a lot of growth there, and it's been very exciting to be a part of that program. So I have 5 minutes, and so I want to open it up to some questions. And just to say, if you want to, you know, if you have locations or recipients that would be great for those programs, or if you want to volunteer, you can email info@robgreenfield.org, or just go to my website and click the contact button. We also have a volunteer group that's called Sustainability in Florida, and that's where we post volunteer events and workshops. And then we also have an email list. If you just email info@robgreenfield.org as well and say you want to be on the email list, then we will email when we have events to take part in. So yeah, I feel like there's so much to say, but I think the most important thing to say is that the reason I wanted to be on this call tonight is just because I respect and admire all that you are all doing. It's so great to be in a place where it's actually like a huge chore to try to meet everybody, because there's so many amazing people to meet and I can't even possibly keep up with it. So I'm, you know, basically here to be of service and support. I'm a temporary fixture in the community for sure. I mean, who knows, maybe I'll be here forever, but probably not. So I just have a few minutes. So if anybody has any questions, happy to answer them. And yeah, I love you all very much. And I'm really looking forward to spending more time with each of you.
I have a question for you, Rob. When you did your foraging and grow your own food project, did you notice any like micronutrient deficiencies in your diet? Was it hard to get anything in particular that you felt like would be really important for you?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Jen. It looks like I don't have just 5 minutes. Looks like I have about 8 minutes. Is that right?
You have until about 7:25.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
about 5
okay,
minutes.
cool. Okay, so I became deficient in fat and protein about halfway through, and I cured that by harvesting roadkill deer. I don't actually use to use the term roadkill deer. They are first and foremost a deer that was hit by a car, and you know, perfectly good. Often just died, you know, a couple hours prior. And then I also started to finally catch enough fish. Mullet are an amazing source of fat and protein, for example. I was eating tons of coconuts, but it wasn't enough. So basically I was deficient in that and that only, and that I could tell. And after finally starting to catch enough fish and getting deer, then I finished off the year feeling like the healthiest that I really have in my adult life.
We have a question in the chat from Scott about what food did you get the most sick of but had an abundance of?
Yeah, so okay, here's the thing. I would never ever get sick of yucca. I don't ever think I could get sick of, or cassava as a lot of people call it. But what I got sick of is something called glassy yucca. So sometimes yucca comes out in this way where it's like, it's not soft and fluffy and white. It's like kind of translucent. And it's Josh Jameson would call it glassy and marabou. And they could never figure out why it does this sometimes. And that was hard to choke down sometimes, the glassy yucca. But otherwise, I loved what I was eating. I grew 100 different species in my garden and foraged 200 different species from nature. So that's 300 different foods that I was able to eat. That's almost a new one for that's 6 of 7 days a week, you know, of the entire year getting to try a new food. So.
Great, thank you. We definitely have time for at least one more question. If you'd like to pop it in the chat or take yourself off mute and ask a question. The floor is open. Would you do your foraging and growing everything yourself a year again?
Yes, in fact, I'm supposed to be not here with all of you right now. I'm supposed to be in upstate New York. I had said that I was going to do another year. I was going to do it in a cold climate to show all the people who say that, oh, you can only do that because you're in Florida. I was ready to show people, no, actually, it's going to be easier for me to do it in a cold climate because of the huge bounty that exists in the fall and the foraging up there, and then the storage being so much easier. I was living in a 90-degree box with I did have a freezer, but so I was ready to do it up there. And but with the situation in the world, I felt like the way that I could be the most impactful was to be able to travel and to help more initiatives to grow. So I very much want to do it again in a most likely in a colder climate. And Bill said, what are your sources for fruit trees? When I was in Orlando, I mostly bought from A Natural Farm over in Claremont, and then I bought from Greens as well. That was where I was able to find like, you know, a large amount. Here, I haven't decided what my sources of fruit trees are so far here in St. Pete. So if you want to email me with the, you know, we are looking to get about 50 or so fruit trees for our community fruit tree projects, and I have not been able to so far figure out what the best source for that would be. So if you want to email us with whatever, you know, great sources of fruit trees, that would be something that would be helpful.
Great, thank you, Rob. And I'm going to make sure to include your website and your St. Pete specific website that has all the great info on the projects that you're working on, as well as your email in the notes. We're recording this, and so we'll send out the recording and notes with any of the links that are mentioned, so you don't have to scribble everything down.
Very cool. And Bill, I will be visiting you soon. You have my word. Scott and Yasmina, I will be visiting you soon. You have my word on that. And I was also going to say that Carrie and Rachel, I will also, well, I was actually at your house last night picking up our food rescue container, but I will be visiting you soon as well. And I definitely want to visit, I want to be able to visit all of you, just haven't been able to squeeze it all in. But so happy to be here with all of you. And thanks so much for welcoming me to the community. I feel very at home and very supported.
Thank you, Rob. We're grateful to have you and happy to hear you're staying a little bit longer.
Yep.
St. Pete will do that to you.
I'll be around, in and out.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, thanks everyone.
So we are also really lucky to have Wendy Wesley to talk about some of the great urban ag policy initiatives that have been happening. She is a registered and licensed dietitian and nutritionist who works to improve the health of her community. She's a food policy activist who writes, speaks, and podcasts about chronic disease, nutrition insecurity, food literacy, and health equity to local and statewide audiences and anyone else who will listen. Wendy works in private practice where she helps her clients eat more nutrient-dense foods to manage chronic disease and reduce their reliance on medications. And she's the author of, and Wendy, I love the title of this book, Good Enough in the Kitchen, Believing in Your Cooking for Better Health, a Fatter Wallet, and a Big Environmental Impact. I'll hand it over to Wendy. We are so grateful to have you.
Thank you.
And Wendy, let me know when you want me to switch the slides for you.
Okay. Okay. Can you see me? Am I on? I'm on. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right, good. The first item I wanted to talk about, you've already touched on it, is the incredible progress at the youth farm down at the Enoch Davis Center. And this is a photo I took from Saturday. And I actually thought I was taking a picture of the cool irrigation system, but that photo didn't appear on my phone. But I was so impressed with their amazing irrigation system. I was an instructor at the youth farm back in the summer of 2019, I think. It's hard to remember the years. And I taught the youth their knife skills and label reading and other things. So I've watched several of them grow up a bit at the youth farm. It's an incredible program. So let's do the, before I jump in, I wanted to talk about how I got involved with nutrition insecurity. And I call it nutrition insecurity, and it's a very, very important distinction from food insecurity, because food insecurity can be met by dumping a lot of calories into a community. I like to reframe it and call it nutrition insecurity because my goal is to get nutrient-dense foods into all parts of St. Petersburg. So we can give out USDA food boxes, we can give out all kinds of chips and processed food and all kinds of things that will meet the caloric needs of our community. But I'm very, very passionate about meeting the nutrition needs, the deep nutrition needs of our community. So I try and reframe the conversation and call it nutrition insecurity and not food insecurity. For years, I worked at St. Anthony's Hospital, and I was assigned to the stroke and the cardiac wings. And my patients told me again and again, and many of them came from the south side of St. Pete in the CRA, and specifically from USDA designated food deserts, that they just could not access the food that that their doctors, their nurses, and their dietitians told them to eat to manage their chronic diseases. And the big three chronic diseases I saw while I was working at the hospital were, of course, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, which is the #1 killer of Americans, and chronic kidney disease. And all three of these chronic disease conditions are best managed with food. They're managed with medications, but I work to help people get off of medications by changing their diet. And I've had quite a bit of success getting people off of medications, specifically diabetes medications, by changing diets. So again and again, it happened over and over again. Patients said, I know how I'm supposed to eat. You've been telling me this for years. The food just does not exist in my community. So I went to look for why, and I found these large areas that the USDA calls food deserts in South St. Pete. And one area that's been severely underserved is the Midtown area. And I'll talk about that a bit later. We have just 4 years have passed since we've had a full service grocery store in Midtown, and that happened when the Walmart at Tangerine Plaza closed. It's been 4 years that grocery store has been closed in a city-owned plaza. But I'll talk about that a bit later. But that's how I came to work in nutrition insecurity and food justice. I come from the clinical space, and I come from working in a hospital and just seeing that people can't manage their diseases if the food simply does not exist in their communities. So I started to write and speak and podcast, and that's kind of how I got going. So next slide, the Allendale slide. Probably many of you here in this meeting are very familiar with the garden at Allendale Church. And Andy Oliver brought together a lot of people from the community to go in front of the LDR, which is the Land Development Commission, and ask them to approve a special exemption modification so that he and his parishioners could have a church garden. Now, this is the best site that was chosen for the garden, and a lot of neighbors took a big issue with where Andy chose to put his garden. So we mounted a pretty big team of people. We went to LDR. We spent 7 hours at City Hall because they really overprogrammed the day. Interestingly, right before our group was to come on, the LDR approved a storage unit facility in a neighborhood. And so several of us went up there and said, you all just allowed a storage facility to be put in a neighborhood, but you won't allow a garden to be put in a neighborhood. So that was a very kind of a powerful argument, and it just kind of came organically because we didn't know who was going to go on before us, but we all kind of banded together and said, let's make sure they know that they just approved a storage facility in a neighborhood. So why not a garden? So if you could go to the next slide. The Land Development Commission did approve. And so Andy Oliver has his garden, and he made it a point of telling us, he said, this is really not about a garden. This is about setting a precedent. And this is about bringing a group of people in front of LDR and City Council and saying that gardens and urban agriculture matters in the city of St. Petersburg. So it was a very, very cool experience, and also to be able to set a precedent in front of the leadership of our city. Let's move to the next slide. Next, I want to talk about the urban ag ordinance that just passed. Council member Brandy Gabbard of District 2 proposed this. We went in front of LDR and we were able to convince them that we should, they should approve this, which they did, and then it went on to council for one read, and then it went on to council for second read. What she proposed was, what this does is it allows people in the city of St. Petersburg to sell what they grow in their front, side, and backyards. Not only does this increase economic opportunities for people in the city, it also gets more nutrient dense foods into the bellies of the people of the city. And so I'm very, very excited about this, and I'm very excited that Brandy brought this forward. As it was first written, they said that we should have the maximum plant height should be only 36 inches. And so we got together with some gardening people, and they said, well, that's crazy. You need to go and advocate for taller. And so we went and advocated for 72 inches. We couldn't get them to budge, but we're able to get them to go from 36 to 72 of maximum plant height. The other thing we did was, originally they wrote it where people could only sell the produce 12 days out of the year. And we made the point to them that with Florida's very, very hot and humid climate, you have to be able to sell produce when it's harvested. And so they gave us 36. We were really gunning for more, but they only gave us 36. So, but it's a big improvement because we went from 12 sales per year to 36 sales per year. And those can happen on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday only. I did talk to a local beekeeper who is very excited because now he can sell his honey from his front yard, and his neighbor can't call codes on him now, because every time he went to go sell honey from his front yard, his neighbor would call codes, and codes would come out and say, you can't do this. So he's pretty stoked now that he gets to sell his honey, and the codes people can leave him alone. This ordinance also gives residents greater leeway with structures like greenhouses, hoop houses, and vertical structures. That was also part of it. The other really cool thing is now residents can take what they have grown and they can go set up shop in a vacant lot and sell the food from the trunk of their car, from the bed of their truck, from whatever. So maybe we can expect to see more roadside produce vending because of Ordinance 448-H. The other thing this did is it lowered fees. So the community garden permit, it lowered the community garden permit from $100 down to $50 annually. And it lowered the roadside vending permit from $100 to $50 annually. So that was another good thing. It's now less expensive for our community gardens and our roadside vendors to do their business in the city. So I've been talking with and working with the Sierra Club, and we're working on a rollout of all of this for residents, because this doesn't do anybody any good if the residents don't know about it. So it's fantastic that it passed. Now the city will put it on their website. I'm not sure that they might do a bit more than that, but I think it's going to take a whole community effort of marketing and publicizing this. And so one of the things that like I said, the Sierra Club wants to do is a publicity or promotions rollout of how does this impact residents? What is it? What's in it for me? Answer the question, what's in it for me? So that was a really, really nice bit of very, very good news. Next slide. I wrote an op-ed that appeared in today's Tampa Bay Times, and it's up if you wanted to go check it out, or I could put the link here. It's about the 4-year anniversary that the Walmart at Tangerine Plaza has been closed, and the headline, "What Surviving on a Gas Station Diet Does to a Body." So I wrote about one of my patients who, when the Walmart was open, he was doing quite well, managing his 3 chronic diseases. And when it closed, he began eating out of gas stations. And so I was able to go into his medical record and track this. And indeed, when the store was open, he was managing his 3 chronic diseases very well. And it's almost like a light switch flipped. When the store closed, his lab numbers he just tanked. Everything tanked. His A1C went up. his diabetic foot ulcers got worse. His kidney lab values were through the roof. And he was admitted repeatedly for CHF, fluid overload. And that's how I got to know him. He became what we call one of the, it's not a nice term, but frequent flyers. He came to see us over and over and over again because of his fluid overload and inability to breathe. And it was like a switch was flipped. He went from shopping at a full service grocery store to buying food and in gas stations, and his health just tanked. And so that's an article that is in today's Tampa Bay Times. And then the next slide. Is this the Coquina Key? Oh, I'm looking for the Coquina Key slide. Is that one in there? No, I guess that one didn't make it. Oh, bummer. It's okay. There is a Save-A-Lot down at Coquina Key, and residents there have told me that they're very, very worried that it's going to close. The plaza down there has 4 pages of code violations, front and back, that are going ignored. And the photo I wanted to show is the sign was, the sign fell down because there is automobile racing in that in the parking lot there. And he fixed the sign by driving a bobcat underneath one of the legs that broke. And that was my best picture. But just to kind of show you how things are not managed the same in all parts of the city. So 4 years, no grocery store at Walmart, signs being hoisted up by bobcats down at Coquina Key Plaza. The playing field is not level in our city when it comes to health equity and nutrition equity. And this I observed firsthand at the hospital and then through my writing and my speaking. So I have a Facebook group called Nutrition Equity St. Pete. I made it because people were coming to me saying, I want to get involved with your work. I like what you're doing and I want to tell me how to get involved. I want to participate. And so that Facebook group is opportunities to speak at council, to speak at LDR, to write letters, to write emails, to get things moving. So I understand they're going to execute a lease at Tangerine Plaza this month. If it doesn't happen, then I'd like to get together a large group of people to go speak and demand the city council say, and ask them why. Why are we going on 4 years with a plaza that you own with no full service grocery store? It's not like a developer owns it and he or she can do whatever they want with it. We can't force a person to do something with property that they own, but this Tangerine Plaza is owned by the city, and I think it's time that we make some noise. So that is what I have, and I think I've gone over time, and I'm very sorry.
You haven't. We have a couple minutes, and I have one question in the chat that I'd love to ask, and I do want to open it up if anyone has any other questions. We can probably get through 3 or 4. Okay. Laura asked if the ordinance also allows for the sale of edible plants as well as produce.
That is a good question, and I do not know the answer. I do not know the answer, but I'll make a note, and I'll talk to Brandy and see, or either Liz Abernathy at the city, and see if I can find out an answer. So
great. Thank you, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
We have time for a couple more questions if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask, or put anything in the chat.
Wendy, can you recap a few ways that people can get involved aside from like your Facebook page and the nutrition equity? Just to recap your conversation.
I would say that getting involved with the Sierra Club would be a good way, because we have now a food access team, and we are, like I said, going to roll out publicity about what 448-H means for residents. So that would be a good way. I also want to remind everybody that the St. Petersburg Catalyst will take your submissions and run them. So if you can write an article, an opinion piece, they are hungry for submissions. Now, getting this op-ed in the Times was, for me, was a lot of work. But getting your submissions into the St. Pete Catalyst is not a lot of work. You just submit it to their Community Voices platform and they will run it. And then you take it and you share it and you share it and you share it and you share it. You tag and you share till you're blue in the face to get the word out. That's what you do.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Wendy. We're so lucky to have you in St. Pete and also tonight. And this was just great information.
The Facebook Nutrition Equity St. Pete, you can see the link down in the chat too.
Great.
Okay.
And I'm gonna put together kind of a little one pager of the links and stuff that folks mentioned and shared so that everyone can see them. Scott clarified that the ordinance allows quote unquote produce, and I think there's a fine line between a plant and produce. I will say my expertise is in like SNAP and farmers markets, and you can use SNAP and also the double SNAP on food producing plants. We consider those produce. So something that might be helpful in, you know, kind of fleshing out that language is looking at the USDA's definition. A fuzzy green jaggedy line, yes. All right, Jen, should we get started on introducing our board nominees?
Yes.
So this is just a note that according to our bylaws as a nonprofit, members who have paid their dues in the last year are eligible to vote. If you have, you should have received an email from me from the We Dig St. Pete email. Check your spam. For some reason, it goes there often. But if you think you've paid your dues and did not receive the link, you can just message me here on Zoom, and I'll send you the link to the ballot, or email wedigstpete@gmail.com. But we are going to take some time to let our board nominees, who we took the time to have fill out applications, we interviewed them, we vetted them, they are the best of the best, and we're so lucky to have them. Jen, I'll let you kind of run this little bit going down the list.
Okay, I have a beagle that is awake, so we'll see what happens. I would love to invite our board member nominees to come on one by one and just maybe take a minute, 30 seconds to introduce themselves, share what they're passionate about, what they hope to bring to SUAC, just so we can kind of get to know you. And I would love to bring on, in this order, Gabriela De Silva, followed by Zoe Turtle, and then Marcel Powers. Gabriela,
can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me as a nominee tonight. Super honored. After watching all the speakers, it has completely inspired me. I am in the right place, and I hope I get the pleasure of being a part of this board. But my name is Gabriela De Silva, and some skills I can bring to the table are my community engagement skills, outreach and social media, research and analysis, relationship building, mentoring and education, and most importantly, just being able to empathize with people in my experiences in working with nonprofit organizations and working on policy as a legislative aide. I believe my skills are a good complement to this board, and I think it'll really push the mission of this board forward. So I really look forward to doing this work with all of you. Some of my passions, had to squeeze a couple, but here they are. I love being outdoors, preferably with my fiance and my dog, love exploring. Food waste and food justice issues are something I'm very, very passionate about. And living a sustainable and intentional life is something that I'm currently working on and very passionate about at this moment as well. And most importantly, I am a cooking enthusiast. Since becoming a vegetarian, it's kind of become my creative outlet, and has really connected me with food and where it comes from. And I believe that we need to connect people again with this comfort of being to connect with our food and the land. And I hope to be able to contribute to be a part of that. So I thank you again, and I'm totally inspired by all the speakers. I hope I can inspire you at some point too. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We're excited to have you. Zoe, do you want to come on?
Hello, everyone. I am Zoe, and yeah, it's been amazing to be a part of my first meeting and learn all these cool things already and hear about all these different projects and all that I can already get involved with. But a few of my skills that I am hoping to bring is planning. I teach private music lessons as my job. Sorry, a little nervous. And I am very passionate about sustainability. And I'm sorry. Can I go later?
Yeah, sure.
Having a thing. I've had a lot of things in my life going on. I'm just having a little moment.
No worries. No worries. Let's bring in Marcille Powers.
Hi guys. Hi Zoe. My name is Marcille Powers. I own Kenwood Organic Produce. Some of you guys know about us. We're a local produce delivery service, double EBT benefits, work with Heather a lot on that. I have a background in not-for-profit administration and marketing for several years. So I definitely have done some fundraisers, which I know is going to be important coming forward. Running businesses. I also have a degree in film, and I have illustrator skills if we need any design work done. Yeah, I enjoy growing and working with the kids. I did edible peace patch this year, but I don't know what I did with I thought I sent off the volunteer application, so I'll have to figure that out tomorrow, make sure I did that right. Let's see, I've been recently gotten really into something called nonviolent communication, which is an interesting relationship and communication exercise. I enjoy it a lot. So I think that's all I can think of for right now.
All right. Well, that's cool. Thank you so much, Marcille. Is Veronica on? Love to bring her in. And
yeah, I'm here. There we go. Sorry, I have like a kind of a weird angle going on my iPad. There we go. Should I go now?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see you great.
Sounds good. All right. Well, hi. You guys probably, I mean, she just introduced me. I'm Veronica Kablinska. So you probably see me floating around a little bit. Born and raised in St. Pete. Absolutely love it here. I've been involved in a couple initiatives here, mainly the Edible Peace Patch Project. I've been working with them since I was a little bitty baby in middle school, installing schoolyard gardens, and then eventually going up to actually volunteering and kind of like managing their social media. I do a lot of I really like getting my hands dirty and getting out in the field and like installing gardens, maintaining gardens. I also like I feel very powerfully about youth outreach, especially since I'm a college student. I feel like that's a very large group of people that we can like tap into as part of this board in this community. And I feel like they have a lot of energy that we can kind of utilize in these initiatives. So I feel like that's a very important thing I could potentially bring to the table with my connections through colleges and stuff. Yeah, so different skills. I mean, I kind of mentioned before, I really like getting into the actual dirt. I like to get in nitty gritty. I can do social media account managing. I've done fundraisers in the past. I can do them again if you need. And yeah, definitely youth outreach as well. So I feel like as a product of youth outreach, I feel like that's very important. I would love to focus on that if I do get the board position. So yeah, that's all I had.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Let's bring Lauren Gray to the video.
Hi, y'all. My name is Lauren Gray. I am the Development and Engagement Manager for an international sustainable farming nonprofit. But my main area of expertise is not actually in farming. I'm really on the marketing, fundraising, training, and education side. I've been in nonprofit administration for around 7 years now. I'm a third generation Floridian, and I've lived in South St. Pete for 7 years. I come from a family of growers, but as I explained to the board the other day, I currently just live in a townhome community, which is lovely and so interdependent, and we share so many things in our little community. But it means I only have like a tiny little porch garden and a tiny indoor hydroponic garden that I love, and I am actually very passionate about, even though it's small. I have a PhD in history, and I'm a total book nerd and really enjoy the intersection of sustainable farming, regenerative systems, and then integrating that with my understanding of transformative justice and anti-racism and emergent strategy. I've really enjoyed getting to hear from you all tonight, and I'm excited to meet you all and hopefully work with you all. Thanks.
We're so excited to have you too. Okay, Zoe, are you ready to come back?
Yes.
All right.
All right. Sorry, some nerves. I've been through a stressful time lately, so I'm just like, well, brain freeze. But anyway, so skills I'm hoping to bring to the board is planning. I do lessons as my job, and so I'm used to planning for like all these different instruments, different ages, different interests, coordinating with the parents and all that. So yeah, I have gotten fairly good at planning sort of things. And then I was also lucky enough to be brought on to this seminar series, White Women for Racial Justice. And I was one of the 7 women who created the series and facilitated the series. And that was like an amazing experience. And it was really fun. And I realized that I want to do more work within planning and community engagement and just kind of furthering the community and working with them. So yeah, that's some of my skills, and very passionate and dedicated as well. There was a lot of times with that where I was just like researching or just like doing extra things that I didn't even necessarily need to do, but I just like really wanted to do. So I can get really, really into things when I'm passionate about them. Which brings me to what I'm passionate about. So I'm passionate about sustainability within my life and overall in the whole community and society. Which kind of goes along with like living more simply, which is not always simple. I've found out, with like something like shampoo, it took me like years of like maybe some oily hair or whatever, but just like taking steps myself and seeing what we can do as a community to also take steps towards that, and becoming more self-sufficient as well, not like relying on some of the maybe governmental or societal norm things that are like not providing everybody with like fair things. And of course, racial and social justice are really important to me as well. And learning and growing as a person. So I'm hoping to do a lot of that through this as well. And thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. All right, let's bring Robin Clemens on.
All right, unmute myself. Hey, everyone. I'm the gardener at Daystar Life Center, which is a social services agency in South St. Pete. I've been their gardener, it'll be 2 years in May. And basically it's a food pantry farm is what I call it. It's an edible garden. So everything we grow, we just give away in food pantry. And we're in the neighborhood that Wendy was discussing. We're in a food desert, services desert, everything desert. And it's, so my main passion is getting food to people who don't have access to it, and getting, whether they have, and like it's really more about food equity also, that the good food, like we're growing organic vegetables to give to people that are on food stamps, or just might even be in a bad time for, a temporary problem, like so many people during COVID has brought a whole new clientele to Daystar. And my background was, I was an early childhood teacher for 15 years. So I spent a lot of time teaching 3- and 4-year-olds how to grow food, and just seeing how and I taught in a private school. So these were privileged, mostly children, and they didn't know where food came from. And so that made me even more want to be helping places where they definitely, that have even less chance of having access to seeing where food comes from, how it grows, and getting the goods, organic, delicious, fabulous stuff, not just and freshly picked, not just what's come off the shelves at Publix as the rejects, and then that's what gets repackaged. This is this is grown specifically just for that. So I also, before that, I was a graphic designer. I'm a mom. I live right in downtown St. Pete. I don't have any growing space in my own yard anymore because I don't have a yard. So Daystar has become my spot for growing. We compost there. We do everything so I'm interested in sustainability and using regenerative practices. So we're using all the food scraps from the food pantry to create compost to use as our fertilizer to grow more vegetables, to bring right back in the food pantry. So we're doing this complete loop right there. And I guess that's really that's my main passion, and is really getting the food to people who wouldn't have a chance to have it otherwise. So I think those are and I've lived in St. Pete for 25 years, and I taught 3-year-olds. So it seems like I know everybody from some way, oh, I taught your child, or, oh, I knew your, whatever. So maybe by knowing people, that would be a good, an asset to help spread the word. My kids are in college age and a little older, so I can connect to their friends, So maybe just by being a longtime resident of St. Pete, active I've volunteered at most community gardens over the past. I learned a lot from Bill. So I know a lot of people in gardening, and I just love it. So I like to help people that don't have what they need, So I like to help people. So you just ask me, I can help you do it. And that's it, really. Thanks for asking me.
Oh, we're so pleased to have you join us. So just a reminder, Heather, do you want to remind folks how they can vote and access the link?
So we've had quite a few people vote in the last couple minutes, so really appreciate you. If you are a member and you have paid in the last 365 days, you received a link to vote. If you think you're a member and you didn't receive that link, message me in the chat and I can send it to you. We do have 7 openings for the current board of directors and 6 folks. So everyone's got a really good chance of being welcomed on. And we're excited to have folks. So good question. Member of what? So we're voting in new member. Member of what? Oh gosh, it's been a long day. So SUAC, Sustainable Urban Agriculture Coalition, is a member-based organization. And our bylaws state that members get to vote our new board in. And it's looking good. It's looking good for everybody. I don't know if we can officially announce it yet.
We're watching the returns. So let's let the votes roll in for a bit. I'm gonna go to the message from the SUAC president, that's me, and our bright future. I just wanted to share a little bit about my time on the board. So my time is coming up here. I've served 2 years as the SUAC board president, and I came out of my permaculture design course, and was just really looking to join an organization that was doing good work in St. Pete. And I really loved SUAC, and I wanted to contribute from the very beginning, and I was very glad I got to do that. But I want to say, thanks to the vision and the hearts and the initiative of our founding members, as well as resources and support from the St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce, as well as a grant from Bon Secours, SUAC has been an advocate for sustainable urban agriculture in St. Pete since 2013. But what you may not know is SUAC is comprised of an all-volunteer run board of directors. We don't have any paid staff. We don't have an executive director. As we all know, 2020 was a challenging year. The pandemic definitely applied pressure to just about everyone we knew, including membership and our board members. But we did sustain, and we've been able to continue to bring urban ag education from a safe distance via Zoom. And we've created a YouTube channel to be able to capture and store the wisdom and the energy of our gifted educators. So what would help make our organization truly sustainable moving forward is if we collectively focus our energies in 2021 by pursuing funding so we can bring on paid staff to make our community's vision for the future a reality, and take some of the pressure off our awesome board members that you got to meet, and the ones that are staying on as well, so they could go the extra mile for the vision. We'd also like to assess and get feedback from our membership and our community for the next year to support initiatives and meet the unique needs of our area. So what you can do to help, definitely become a dues paying member. Those funds go directly to important things like insurance and the Zoom platform, obviously, and then hopefully paid staff position. We're going to have a big fundraising push. So the folks on the board that are involved with fundraising would love your help, whether that's sharing on social media, participating in fundraising activities. If you have experience fundraising, I'm sure they would love the support. Of course, like and share our posts on social media, help us build our reach. And any introductions to organizations that could increase our social, intellectual, and financial capital are also most welcome. And I do want to give a big shout out and a thank you to, of course, all our hardworking board members and my fellow executive board members. During my term as president, I had the pleasure to work with two treasurers. One was Whitney Blair, and our current treasurer, Vanessa Ferrer. And I just want to say your work was critical to getting to where we are today, and I'm deeply grateful. And of course, a very special thank you to my esteemed colleague, Heather Henderson, SUAC's Vice President. Without her diligence and grit, positive attitude, it really helped keep things moving and kept us positive when we needed the most, especially last year. And thanks again to all our community members that have supported us since the beginning. It's my sincere hope that you'll continue to lend your support to our new board members and welcome them on as they embark on their journey to guide our community asset, the Sustainable Urban Agriculture Coalition. Thank you. And you can probably hear my beagle. Sorry about that. All right, let me share my screen again.
I do think that we can officially announce that we have a resounding approval of all of the new board nominees. So welcome, welcome to everybody.
We're so excited to have y'all. Thank you so much for believing in the.
Oh, you muted on accident, Jen.
Oh, great. I didn't know. Did I say anything? So yeah, of course, we'd love your feedback, and we'll drop this link in the chat. Let us know how this meeting went. Is there anything we can do better, what you liked about it, what you'd like to see? This will go into a form that we'll access later so we can make everything we do a little bit better. Those feedback loops are so important. So we've got, let's see, the virtual meeting, the virtual mixer after the meeting. I know that after a traditional meeting, we would have time to mill about and chat with folks and get to know new people. We don't have that right now, but what we've done is we've set up through MeetAway a virtual mixer. So go ahead and cruise over to that link there. If you haven't already, you'll just set up a profile, let folks know who you are, what you like to talk about. And we've got it set up to start at 10:35, give you a little bit of time for a break, get some refreshments, and it'll go about 30 minutes. You'll have an opportunity, if you like, to meet up to 5 other attendees and talk about, what you're excited about for about 5 minutes or so. This platform was awesome. I attended at another virtual conference, and it was my favorite thing about the conference, honestly. It was get to meet people and network. So I encourage you to do that. And is there anything else? Yeah, I'm gonna leave that part there. Okay, so anything you'd like to say, Heather, to wrap us up, or do we have any unanswered questions we want to address?
I don't think I have anything. Just a big thank you to everyone who spoke and to the new round of board members. We do have a little bit of time, so I do want to open it up for any questions or announcements. I will be sending, realistically in the next week, I will send out a recording and the notes. So expect that. It will be sent out into the MailChimp email list, but it'll also be posted on Facebook. But if anybody has any final questions or any announcements, feel free to take yourself off mute, and we'll save some time for that.
Now, usually at the end, we open it up to community announcements, like what's going on in the area, what you're working on, what we can attend. It's a little different now, but we can still attend stuff in different ways.
Yeah, this is Bill. What time is the mixer?
It starts at 8:35, so we'll have a little bit of time for a break.
Thank
Get
you.
a snack, get a drink. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
I'll make a little announcement. I went to Meacham Farm on Sunday. They're in Tampa, downtown Tampa, near the Encore neighborhood, and I know SUAC had some initial work to get that off the ground, and it is just the most beautiful, special farm. And they have a farm stand that's open Saturdays and Sundays. And if you don't mind driving over the bridge, it's definitely worth checking out. I'll put it in the chat. I work for a program that doubles SNAP at farmers markets and farms, and they'll be doubling in the next couple of weeks. Meacham Farm. So just wanted to shout that out.
Where are they, Heather?
So they're on Scott Street, right downtown Tampa, kind of between Ybor and downtown, and they're funded by the Housing Authority, and they're near some mixed income housing and some senior housing. So the intention is to increase food access. So it's great that they'll be accepting SNAP starting this weekend and doubling it for fruits and veggies in the next couple of weeks. But it was just such a nice visit. It's Travis Malloy.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the 3 owners, and he has Trailvale Farm, if anyone's familiar with him, at the farmers market.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very nice event tonight. Just a terrific talk by Rob Greenfield, and everything went very nicely and was very interesting. So thank you, those of you who put it together.
We wouldn't be here without you, Bill, I'm pretty sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
All right, well, take a break, come back for the mixer if you have energy. And I appreciate everybody, and thanks for coming.
And I just wanted to say thank you to Heather and Jen for all the hard work, and we will definitely miss you as you roll off.
Thanks, Vanessa. We'll be here for a while with the transition. I think we can't let our baby go.
Appreciate that and all the hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go walk my dog. I'll see you at the networking event, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.